the introduction of an investment allowance. An investment allowance is something that in Singapore and Malaysia is taken for granted. Anytime you invest, you're able to take a very substantial allowance and pay lower taxes on it. India has introduced an investment allowance in this year's budget, which I think is positive. This is especially important for the simple reason that the slowdown in the economy over the past year has come primarily from a slump in capital goods output. Capital goods output collapsed over the last 2 years and is beginning to turn around, but is not quite in positive territory yet. If you look to this period, most of the growth in India's economy since 2003 has come from a massive investment boom. Of course, if you invest more, that boosts productivity and boosts prosperity across the economy. If you're investing less, then you have a real problem. And so turning around investment spending is really the key aspect of this year's budget. And I think the investment allowance certainly is an important provision helping to bring that about. And hopefully this is the end of the slump in capital goods output. We begin to see capital goods doing better. I don't want to leave you with only negativity. There are a couple of things that this government has done very quietly that deserve credit and that will boost India's economy in the medium term. The most important is something called the UIDAI, the Universal ID scheme that has been run by Nandan Nilekani. And already about 350 million Indians have these UID cards where you have 12 pieces of biometric information, all 10 fingerprints and the irises of your 2 eyes recorded on a card. This is almost a fail-safe method of identification, a unique identification system. And most of those 350 million people live in rural India. I'd say 80% of them currently don't have bank accounts. And the fact that they will have universal ID card means that subsidies can be much better targeted towards those who really need them, A. B, they can actually, money can actually be transferred directly to the beneficiary, which means it cuts out all the intermediaries and all the scope for corruption and rent-seeking along the way. And therefore, in the medium term, this is absolutely transformative. And we owe a great deal of, a great debt to Nandan Nilekani, who has fought battles with the right and the left. In India, every issue, every economic reform measure meets severe resistance from the right and the left. They all come up with fantastic arguments for why it is awful. And so the UID scheme was considered awful by the right and the left. You can be sure that that's a good measure if both the right and the left are attacking it. In the end, and by the way, the Home Minister at the time, who was currently Finance Minister, also opposed the thing tooth and nail, any case. But now it is almost done, and the current Finance Minister is basking in the glory of its being completed. And he is now making that a key provision that will apparently enable the Congress to win the next election, because they'll be targeting these subsidies directly to those who really vote and who really need the money. Anyway, so that is one very significant measure that has, I think, made that is truly transformative, and that is a significant legacy of this government. Second is the DMIC, the Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor, which is a project that is being partially, about almost 50% funded by the government of Japan. The Japanese are extremely enthusiastic about this. And this is going to create a significant industrial zone between Delhi and Mumbai. And there's now talk of another zone connecting Pune to Bangalore. But the DMIC in particular, coupled with the fact that there is a new manufacturing policy that effectively provides a compensation scheme for laying off workers and for environmental issues, that I think is the positive aspect, the obverse side of that iceberg is that there is actually something really quite positive. The new manufacturing policy and the DMIC as the corridor through which the new manufacturing policy will be implemented. And in the medium term, that I think will really help restore the vitality of the Indian economy. I remain very bullish about India in the medium term, despite the fact that I'm somewhat bearish in the near term. This year, the budget has done its bit. Unfortunately, it's only done a bit to fend off the rating agencies. Moody's already commended the budget yesterday. They said that the prospect of a rating downgrade has diminished. S&P is much more hawkish. S&P has an analyst called Joydeep Mukherjee who really loves China and hates India. So he's still out there. He hasn't said anything yet. So we'll have to wait and see what comes of that. But at least the prospect of one of the rating agencies not going ahead with a downgrade is one clear benefit of what P. Chidambaram has done in this budget. Overall, then, I think this budget will provide at least a modest boost to economic growth. Despite all that I've said, there is the UID, the new manufacturing policy, the DMIC. So all of that should ensure, along with the new investment allowance, that real GDP picks up to slightly over 6% in the next fiscal year. With economic growth picking up a little bit, you automatically get a boost to revenue, of course, and so the fiscal deficit should be in the region of about 5% of GDP in the next fiscal year. That is still an acceptable level. 6% is a danger mark. 5% is kind of acceptable. 4.8% would be lovely, but it's unlikely to be achieved. But at any rate, the improvements are modest, and that's why the stock markets haven't responded all that favorably to it. Chidambaram's reputation is based on the 1997 budget, which was actually never passed by Parliament, so happens. It was called a dream budget. So the markets always expect that there'll be another dream budget from Chidambaram, and most of the time, I'd say 6 of the 8 times he's presented a budget, he is disappointed. This time he disappointed less than most other times, and so we get a modestly better outcome. Thank you very much.